1,300-year-old Buddha statue in Thailand reveals hidden gold treasure, a rare glimpse into ancient sacred rituals. A remarkable archaeological breakthrough in Thailand has stunned historians and researchers alike. A sealed Buddha statue, dating back approximately 1,300 years, has been found to contain a hidden cache of gold artifacts. This extraordinary discovery is offering rare insight into ancient Buddhist traditions, craftsmanship, and spiritual practices that have remained concealed for centuries. Now we take a deeper look and break down this entire story on the AI podcast.
So I want you to just imagine for a second that you're, standing in the middle of this really grand echoing museum.
Oh, yeah, we've all been there.
Right. And you're looking up at this massive ancient sculpture. It's totally weathered by time. Like the sharp edges of the stone are completely smoothed over by centuries of wind and rain.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just standing there admiring the sheer scale of it, the ancient craftsmanship, completely unaware that what you are actually looking at is a locked vault.
A vault that most people would just walk right past.
Exactly. A vault that is quietly holding on to this meticulously arranged secret that's literally been hidden in the dark for hundreds of years.
And, when you find that out, it completely changes your relationship with the object.
Hmm.
You realize you aren't just looking at a static piece of art anymore. You're looking at a sealed container that was designed to perform a very specific function.
And that functional secret is exactly what we're digging into today for this deep dive.
Mm-hmm.
We are looking at this just breathtaking recent archaeological discovery out of Thailand.
It's an incredible story.
It really is. We are talking about a 1,300-year-old Buddha statue that, well, on the outside, it just looks like this magnificent relic of the ancient world. But on the inside, it turned out to be hiding a carefully arranged cache of pristine ancient gold.
Yeah, untouched gold.
Right. So our mission today is to figure out how this single discovery is completely overturning our whole approach to historical artifacts.
Because it forces us to reconsider the physical boundaries of history. We are suddenly confronted with this reality that the surface of an artifact, the part we put in the glass case, might just be the packaging.
The wrapper.
Exactly.
So to get to the bottom of this, we are pulling from the official archaeological reports surrounding this Thai excavation, specifically looking at the insights from the Thailand Fine Arts Department. We've got the excavation details, the metallurgical analysis of the gold, the historical context, the whole stack.
There's a lot to go through.
There is. So, okay, let's unpack this. Take us back to the moment of discovery. Set the scene for us. Like, how does a standard archaeological dig turn into this history-altering moment?
Well, it starts with an understanding of the Dharavati period.
Okay.
We are talking about this network of ancient city-states that thrived in what is now central Thailand. This is roughly between the 6th and 11th centuries.
Wow. Okay, so quite a while ago.
Oh, absolutely. And the Dharavati culture was deeply, deeply influenced by Buddhism. Their artisans were just absolute masters of carving stucco and stone.
Mm-hmm.
So archaeologists were working at this historical site known for this specific culture, and they unearthed a massive stone Buddha statue.
Just out in the field.
Right out in the dirt. And right out of the gate, finding an intact piece of Dharavati monumental art, that is a major career-defining find for an archaeologist.
Got it.
Because this statue dates back roughly 1,300 years. Having survived over a millennium of shifting earth, monsoon seasons, human activity, it was remarkably well preserved.
Yeah, surviving one monsoon is hard enough, let alone 1,300 years of them.
Exactly. So initially, the team valued it simply for its exterior. It showcased that distinctive Dharavati artistic style.
Yeah. Right. What does that look like?
Well, it's characterized by these joined eyebrows, flat faces, and prominent, tight curls of hair. It served as this really beautiful testament to the era's craftsmanship.
Which is already a massive victory for the team, right? You find a 1,300-year-old Dharavati statue in good condition, you document the site, you secure the artifact, and it eventually goes straight into a textbook.
Yeah, it was a totally successful excavation by any standard metric. But the turning point didn't actually happen in the dirt. It happened later in the conservation lab.
Okay, so they bring it back to base.
Right. The statue was brought in for routine restoration and cleaning. And conservators use these incredibly delicate tools. We're talking soft bristle brushes, specialized solvents, microvacuums, just to clear away centuries of compacted soil without damaging the stone.
Because you don't want to scratch the artifact?
Exactly. And during this really meticulous process, the experts started noticing structural anomalies.
Wait, anomalies in the stone itself, or like in the way the statue was put together?
More in the physical behavior of the object. As they were cleaning and handling the statue, they noticed the acoustic resonance was wrong.
Meaning what, exactly?
Meaning, when you tap a solid block of ancient sandstone or limestone, it produces a very specific, dense sound. It's a heavy thud.
Right.
But certain sections of this statue produce a subtly hollow reverberation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and on top of that, the weight distribution was off-center. The physical math of the object simply wasn't adding up. So the team hypothesized that the statue wasn't a solid piece of stone. There was a void inside.
You know, it's kind of like buying an antique desk simply because of its beautiful woodwork, right? And then you're moving it, you tap the side, notice a hollow sound, and realize there's a secret compartment built right into the framing.
That is a perfect analogy. Except in this case, the desk is a priceless religious artifact.
Right, which makes things complicated.
How?
Because you can't exactly take a crowbar or masonry drill to a 1,300-year-old piece of religious history just to check if it's hollow.
No, absolutely not. The stakes were incredibly high here. This is a sacred, culturally vital artifact. We can't just crack it open.
So what do they do?
Well, the reports detail the extreme caution the specialists took. Before even attempting to open it, they used microendoscopy.
Like they use in surgery.
Basically, yeah. They threaded these tiny cameras through naturally occurring microfissures in the stone just to confirm the existence of a cavity.
That is wild.
And once they confirmed the void, they had to identify the original seams created by the ancient artisans. Then they painstakingly separated them without fracturing the surrounding material.
I can't even imagine the pressure.
Oh, it must have been nerve-wracking. They had to honor the cultural importance of the artifact while investigating this anomaly. And when they finally separated that stone, the whole narrative of this excavation completely shifted.
Okay, don't leave us in suspense. Tell us what was actually inside the cavity.
So, sealed away in this completely dark, airtight chamber for over a millennium, they uncovered a hidden cache of gold.
Unbelievable.
But we really need to be specific here. This wasn't some haphazard pile of coins or a melted-down stash of looted wealth.
Like a pirate's treasure.
Right, not at all.
Yeah.
It was a highly organized, deliberate arrangement. The reports describe these intricately hammered repoussé gold plaques.
Repoussé.
Yeah, repoussé. They're these thin sheets of gold worked from the reverse side to create raised reliefs on the front.
Oh, gorgeous.
And there were also inscribed gold foils featuring ancient Buddhist texts and even miniature relic caskets. What's fascinating here is the sheer contrast in preservation.
Because the outside was so weathered.
Exactly. On the outside, you have this incredibly weathered ancient stone that has borne the brunt of 13 centuries of environmental decay. But the interior chamber, it acted as a hermetically sealed time capsule.
Wow.
The gold artifacts appeared almost untouched by time. The detailing on those repoussé plaques was as sharp as the day they were hammered.
That level of preservation is staggering. I mean, finding gold in an archaeological site is fundamentally what people expect, right? That's the Hollywood version of archaeology.
Sure, Indiana Jones style.
Exactly. But the deliberate placement of these repoussé plaques and inscribed foils, it tells us this wasn't someone hiding their life savings from an invading army. The arrangement suggests a highly ritualized act. It points to a deeply intentional theology behind the treasure.
Oh, without a doubt. This was absolutely an intentional sacred deposit. The pristine condition and that meticulous positioning point directly to long-standing ancient Buddhist traditions of sacred offerings.
So the hiding was the point.
Yes, the act of placing these items inside the statue was as important as the carving of the statue itself.
Okay, wait. I need to push back on the logic of this for a second.
Sure.
Because if you are a wealthy patron or a master artisan 1,300 years ago, and you commission these exquisite, highly valuable gold plaques, wouldn't you want people to see them?
You'd think so, right?
Yeah. I mean, if the goal is to show your devotion, why hide the very thing that proves your wealth and faith behind a solid wall of stone where literally no one will ever lay eyes on it?
See, that is a very modern Western way of looking at wealth and display. In the context of ancient Southeast Asian Buddhism, the visibility of the offering isn't what gives it power.
Okay.
The source material breaks this down into a few core spiritual mechanics. First, it was an act of profound, unattached devotion. Embedding the gold was a way of offering their most valuable resources directly to the divine, precisely because it wouldn't be seen.
Oh, I see.
The lack of public recognition made the offering more pure.
So they were giving up the worldly value and the social clout for purely spiritual value.
Precisely. And the second reason is the concept of merit-making, or punyanya.
Punyanya.
In these traditions, performing acts of generosity generates spiritual merit, which contributes to a person's karma and their future lifetimes. By permanently sealing the gold inside a sacred object, the creator or patron was generating a continuous, enduring source of merit.
Oh, man. So it is less like a museum display and more like a spiritual trust fund.
Yes.
Or actually like an algorithmic smart contract. You set up the initial deposit, the gold inside the statue, and because it is permanently sealed within an object of worship, it continuously generates spiritual dividends in the background.
That's brilliant.
And it just compounds over centuries, long after you are gone.
That is a phenomenal analogy. It is an automated system of spiritual accumulation.
Oh.
And the third reason involves protective blessings. The inscribed gold foils often contain specific incantations or mantras.
Like spells.
Kind of, yeah. Like the Yidama verse, which summarizes the Buddha's teachings. These weren't just decorative, they were functional.
Functional how?
They were intended to radiate protective spiritual energy outward, securing the statue itself against destruction, and blessing the surrounding temple, the village, and the worshippers.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because if you take those elements, the unattached devotion, the smart contract of merit-making, and the active protective blessings, it completely redefines the physical object.
It does.
The statue was never meant to be just a visual symbol to look at. It was an active, functional piece of spiritual technology, a sacred vessel.
A vessel carrying a hidden energetic core that only its original creators knew about. I mean, think about it. The generations of people who worshipped at the foot of that Varavati statue for hundreds of years, they only saw the weathered stone.
They had no idea.
None. Only the artisans knew about the pristine gold engine humming away on the inside.
But this brings up a massive ethical tension.
Well, exactly.
If these ancient artisans deliberately sealed this gold inside to provide continuous protective blessings and to silently generate spiritual merit in the dark, by opening the statue, are modern archaeologists essentially breaking the seal of a 1,300-year-old intention?
It's a heavy question.
Like, are we disrupting a sacred system just to satisfy our own scientific curiosity?
That tension is honestly one of the most hotly debated topics in modern archaeology. You have the pursuit of empirical knowledge on one side and the ethical obligation to respect ancient, sacred intentions on the other. Do we have the right to deconstruct someone else's faith for a museum exhibit?
So how did the authorities managing this specific discovery navigate that? Did they feel conflicted about opening the chamber?
Oh, for sure. The Thailand Fine Arts Department acknowledged the gravity of the find, and they confirmed the intentionality of the sealed religious tradition. But their perspective leans heavily into the value of historical memory and preservation.
Okay, so they felt it was justified.
Yes. They argue that discoveries of this kind, especially in such an untouched state, are incredibly rare windows into the past.
So they view it less as breaking a seal and more as recovering a lost language.
Exactly. They emphasize that the Varavati culture, while incredibly influential, has actually left us with very few written records compared to later eras.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so finding this intact glimpse into their ceremonial practices actually reinforces the cultural richness of the region. By documenting and preserving these artifacts now, using modern conservation techniques, we are ensuring that the story of that devotion isn't lost to eventual environmental decay or looting.
Right.
They are essentially translating a silent, forgotten act of faith into a historical record that honors the original artisans on a global scale.
That makes sense. It takes the act from feeling like archaeological trespassing to feeling like we are finally receiving a message that was sent 1,300 years ago.
Beautifully put.
So what does this all mean? Because if this one beautiful weathered Dvaravati statue in Thailand was secretly holding a cache of gold and inscribed blessings, it begs a terrifying question for curators everywhere.
It really does.
What about every other ancient, seemingly solid statue sitting in a museum gallery right now?
Oh, every solid-looking artifact is suddenly a suspect. The discovery strongly suggests that this wasn't an isolated incident. If embedding sacred offerings was a recognized spiritual practice, then similar hidden deposits almost certainly exist in other statues across Southeast Asia.
Wow.
There could be hundreds of complex, sacred vessels sitting on pedestals right now, completely unrecognized.
But we just established the ethical and physical dangers of opening them. We can't just start drilling exploratory holes into priceless antiquities on the off chance there is a gold leaf hidden in the torso.
No, we definitely cannot. And that constraint is driving a massive paradigm shift in how archaeology operates today. Because experts refuse to damage these artifacts, there is an accelerated push to adopt advanced, non-invasive imaging technologies.
Like what?
Well, technologies borrowed from fields like astrophysics and medicine, we are moving far beyond the trowel and the brush.
Wait, we are talking about using tech that can see through solid rock. How does that actually work with using standard X-rays? Because I imagine X-rays just bounce off dense stone and metal.
You're exactly right. Standard medical X-rays often scatter when they hit dense historical materials like thick bronze or sandstone, leaving you with a blurry, unreadable image. So researchers are turning to techniques like muon radiography.
Okay, I know what an X-ray is. What in the world is a muon?
So muons are subatomic particles naturally created when cosmic rays hit the Earth's upper atmosphere.
Cosmic rays.
Yep. They are constantly raining down on us, harmlessly passing through our bodies and most structures. But when muons hit dense materials, like a thick stone statue or a cache of dense gold, they're deflected or absorbed.
Okay, tracking with you so far.
So by placing specialized emulsion plates or digital detectors around a statue, scientists can track how many muons pass through and where they are blocked.
It is essentially an astronomical X-ray powered by outer space.
That is exactly what it is. It maps the internal density of the object perfectly. It allows researchers to see the exact shape and location of a void and even the density of the objects inside that void without ever touching the artifact.
That is mind-blowing.
Right. And they are also using neutron imaging, which is fantastic at detecting organic materials.
Organic materials, like what?
So if there is a wooden relic or an ancient manuscript hidden inside a bronze casting, neutron beams can highlight those delicate organics that other scans would completely miss.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah. If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is the most crucial takeaway from the source material. The future of understanding our past relies entirely on this concept of interdisciplinary convergence. Archaeology can no longer exist in a silo.
Right, because the archaeologist knows how to safely excavate the site and contextualize the era, but they aren't trained to run a muon detector.
Exactly. And even after the physicists map the internal structure, you need chemists and material scientists to understand the artifacts themselves.
What do the chemists do?
For example, once the gold is extracted, material scientists use techniques like mass spectrometry, specifically. Laser ablation mass spectrometry.
That sounds intense.
It is. They took a microscopic sample of the gold, vaporize it with a laser, and analyze its exact chemical makeup.
But wait, why do we need to know the chemical makeup if we already know it's gold?
Because ancient gold is never pure. It always contains trace elements, tiny amounts of silver, copper, or lead. That specific ratio of trace elements acts like a chemical fingerprint.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Yep. By matching that fingerprint to geological data, material scientists can tell us exactly which ancient mine the gold came from. They can map out an entire 8th century trade route, showing how the metal traveled hundreds of miles to reach that specific artisan in Thailand.
That is just wild. The material scientist maps the physical journey of the atoms. The archaeologist maps the physical excavation of the object. And the religious studies scholars decode the inscribed foils to understand the theology.
Exactly. By combining these fields, researchers can finally bridge the gap between the physical materials, the stone, the trace elements in the gold, and the intangible spiritual beliefs that drove the artisans to combine them in the first place.
It provides this three-dimensional view of history that simply wasn't possible a few decades ago. We aren't just looking at the object, we are looking at the trade routes, the subatomic density, and the silent prayers of the people who made it.
It gives a voice to those anonymous Theravada artisans, allowing us to understand their world with unprecedented fidelity.
Incredible. So just to recap this incredible journey for everyone listening, we started with a routine excavation in Thailand that unearthed the 1,300-year-old Dvaravati stone Buddha. By paying attention to the subtle acoustic and structural anomalies during conservation, experts discovered the statue was actually a sacred vessel. It was hiding a pristine, hermetically sealed cache of gold repoussé plaques and inscribed texts, deliberately placed there as an act of unattached devotion, a generator of spiritual merit, and a protective blessing.
A literal time capsule.
A literal time capsule of ancient faith. And because of the ethical challenges of opening these vessels, it is forcing the entire field of archaeology to evolve, adopting cosmic ray muon radiography and mass spectrometry. We are finally realizing that history literally holds deeper layers beneath the surface.
This raises an important question, though, a philosophical one that extends far beyond the borders of ancient Thailand.
I love these. Lay it on us.
Well, we have spent this entire deep dive talking about how these ancient artisans embedded their deepest spiritual beliefs and their most valuable resources into the very foundations of their art. And they did so with the explicit knowledge that no one would ever actually see it.
Right.
They weren't performing for an audience, they were building an engine for eternity. So it makes you wonder about the structures we are creating today.
Oh, wow.
What hidden layers are we leaving behind in the things we build? When the interdisciplinary archaeologists of the future, 1,300 years from now, use their advanced scanners to peer inside the foundations of our modern monuments, our skyscrapers, our digital infrastructure, what will they find? Will they find expressions of our deepest values securely hidden away, or will they just find empty space?
That is a profound thought to chew on. Are we building vessels of meaning or just hollow shells? The next time you find yourself standing in the middle of a grand, echoing museum, looking up at a massive piece of history, remember to ask yourself, what is waiting in the dark right behind the surface?
Okay, one question for you. How does the discovery of gold artifacts hidden inside a 1,300-year-old Buddha statue in Thailand change our understanding of ancient Buddhist rituals? And what might it reveal about the spiritual intentions of the people who created it? Don't forget to comment it. Thanks.